Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers witnessing an accident, obstruction of justice, and evidence tampering, and is brought to us by the Life and Liberty Law Office's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. Before we dive into the interaction, I want to give a big thanks to the sponsor of this episode, News Voice. Are you tired of all the misinformation circulating on social media? Do you wish there was a place to get news without all of the opinions and pandering? News Voice is a revolutionary digital media platform that offers its users unbiased summaries that link to sources from all sides of the news spectrum. News Voice is driven by its readers and allows you to upvote stories that you find interesting and even contribute yourself by adding links or stories. News Voice gives its users a personalized news feed by aggregating major news sites as well as international and independent media into one easy-to-use platform. News Voice is available on both Google Play and the App Store and is completely free. Become better informed and show your support for ATA by downloading the News Voice app using the link in the description. Thanks again to News Voice for sponsoring this episode. On September 22nd, 2019, Colorado resident Preston Sowell and his girlfriend were leaving a local pub in Loveland, Colorado, when they saw a motorcyclist lying underneath a crashed motorcycle that was blocking the exit of the parking lot. Mr. Sowell and other bystanders went to help the motorcyclist, and another bystander lifted the bike off the man, who was bleeding and visibly injured. Among the emergency personnel arriving on the scene was Officer Paul Ash of the Loveland Police Department.
Where is the bike at?
The bike's parked down
The
on
blue
the
one?
side. Yeah, the blue one there. We pulled it off.
Okay, you mind coming and talk to me?
I don't know what happened.
Well, you pulled the
I'm
bike
not
off
talking
him.
to nobody.
Really?
These guys saw what happened. I didn't.
Okay,
I'm
if you're not talking to anybody, you can leave.
Well, you can leave.
No.
You're dismissed.
We
No.
can't leave.
We can't leave. I'm not leaving.
Okay, then come and talk to me.
No, I'm not going to come talk to you.
The Fifth Amendment's right to remain silent clause protects citizens from being forced to answer the questions of police officers. There are no laws which require citizens to give statements to members of law enforcement if they have witnessed an accident. However, some states, such as Minnesota, Vermont, and Rhode Island, make it a misdemeanor offense if it is known that someone is in serious danger and someone can intervene safely or call 911 and they do not. It should also be noted that Colorado Revised Statute 18-8-115 states that it is the duty of every corporation or person who has reasonable grounds to believe that a crime has been committed to promptly report the suspected crime to law enforcement authorities. All that said, no crime was committed, and Mr. Sowell did what he could to aid the crash victim. Mr. Sowell is under no legal obligation to speak to Officer Ash about anything, and Officer Ash has no legal authority to force Mr. Sowell to make any statements.
I'm not going to come talk to you.
Police officer, man. Just
I know.
Did you
but I'm
pull
not
the
gonna come
bike?
talk
Did
to
you
him.
pull the bike
I'm
off
not going
him?
to come talk to
okay.
him.
That's
Did you pull the bike off him?
I did not.
Okay.
Here, Mr. Sowell states that he did not remove the motorcycle from the victim. That is important information to keep in mind as you watch the rest of this video.
So
You just told me
it
you
has
did.
nothing to do with me.
Okay, you're free to leave.
Yeah, you're free to leave.
What's his name?
Preston. That's all I know.
Preston what?
I don't know.
You got an ID on your boss?
No,
I'm gonna need an ID
no
now.
ID.
Okay.
No, let's take a look, see if I think
177. I got an uncooperative witness. Come on over here.
Constitutional right.
I need to talk to you.
Constitutional right. No.
I need to
don't
talk to
I don't
you.
want to talk to you.
You have to talk
I don't want
to
to
me.
talk. No, I don't.
You do.
No, I don't.
Okay, you've
No, I don't.
inserted yourself.
I came
Okay.
down here to help them.
So-
No, I don't have to talk
so
to
this is
anybody.
gonna go one of two
I don't have
ways.
to talk to anybody.
This is gonna go
I
one
don't
of
have
two
to talk
ways.
to anybody.
Okay, either
I
you're
don't
gonna
have to
sit
talk to
here and
anybody.
talk to me,
No,
we'll just have a short
no,
conversation,
no,
or I'm gonna
I
arrest you
don't
for
have
obstruction.
No, you're not. I'm not obstructing
You
anything.
are.
You're right here.
Okay.
I'm not obstructing nothing.
Unlike most states, Colorado has two statutes which refer to the act of obstruction. Colorado Revised Statute 18-8-102 states that a person commits obstructing government operations if he intentionally obstructs, impairs, or hinders the performance of a governmental function by a public servant by using or threatening to use violence, force or physical interference or obstacle. And Colorado Revised Statute 18-8-104 essentially says the same thing, but also includes the obstruction of firefighters, emergency medical service providers, rescue specialists, and volunteers. The use or threat of violence or force is a key element of both of the statute's authority, and Mr. Sal's refusal to speak with Officer Ash does not fit into the language of either of those statutes. At this point, Officer Ash's actions only serve to escalate the encounter and evolve into what will become an illegal detention and arrest.
Okay.
These guys are taking care of it.
Please just come talk to me.
Nope.
Okay, turn around.
I don't want to talk to you.
Turn around right now.
Nope. Nope.
Turn around.
Videotape this, Sherry.
I'm already doing
no.
it. It's right here.
No.
Turn around.
No, you're wrong.
Turn around.
My constitutional rights.
around.
I don't have to talk to you. I
Turn
don't have to
around.
I don't have to ID myself.
Turn around.
He's being a
Turn around.
He's being a cop. Yeah, he is.
He's my
I
backup.
came down here to help.
Just back it up.
I don't know what
Back up.
happened,
Back
and I'm
up.
telling him that. I'm telling him that. I
Put
don't
your
know what
hand.
happened.
Put your hand
Why
behind your
does he
back.
want to talk to me?
I'm not telling you again.
You're being a little.
No.
Preston,
bit of a man.
put your hand behind your back now.
No, you're being wrong.
Put
If you
your
don't
hand.
put
You're
your
being
hand-
wrong.
he's gonna-
Videotape this, Sherry.
He's gonna get you if you don't put your hand
Videotape this. What are you?
Officer Ash grabs Mr. Sal in an attempt to handcuff him, and a small scuffle ensues, which results in Mr. Sal being thrown to the ground and arrested.
There's no reason for this. There's no reason for this. Get my phone, Sherry. This is f***ed up. Videotape this.
All you had to do was talk to me.
I didn't want to talk to you. I didn't have to talk to you.
Doesn't matter.
I didn't have to talk to you. I don't know what happened. He came over. We saw him down. I came to help him get his f***ing bike up.
Okay, and that's why I need to talk to you.
That's right.
So if you've
So
inserted
handcuff
yourself,
me and f***ing let me go.
if you've inserted yourself, you need to talk to me.
I don't
You are
need to talk to
obstructing
you.
an investigation.
I'm not instructing
You are
anything.
under arrest for obstruction.
I'm
and
not
now for
instructing you.
resisting.
I want to talk to your supervisor. I want to talk to
I'll
your
have a meeting with
supervisor.
the police department.
Right? No. I
You
want to
can
talk to him right f***ing now.
You can talk to him before you go to jail.
I'm not going to jail.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. I helped the guy get his bike up,
That's why you
and
need to talk to
I'm
me.
obstructing.
Go ahead and have a seat.
No. Let me go. I'll get in. You don't have to force
I'm
me
gonna
in.
double lock your cuffs.
You don't have to force me in. I'll get in.
Go ahead.
I'll get in your thing. Loosen these cuffs up, please. They're tight. Can we please loosen these cuffs up?
Just checking them, sir.
They're not a finger width away.
Hey, relax, dude. That's
I'm
what happens.
trying to relax.
That's what happens when you go
gotta throw my
uncooperative.
ass down
That's what
because I
happens
didn't
when
want
you
to
go
talk to you.
uncooperative.
Sir, he's checking.
Okay. You're here.
Yeah.
I need statements from the guy in the blue plaid shirt,
Okay.
the guy in the black Eagles thing.
Okay.
He was the one who moved the bike over there, or was moving it.
Eagles jersey moved it over there?
Yep.
Okay.
Here, Officer Ash openly admits that one of the other bystanders was the one who actually moved the motorcycle, essentially validating everything that Mr. Sal stated. During their investigation, Officer Benjamin DeLima makes some interesting statements to Officer Ash.
Well, he told me that he helped move the bike, so at that point in time, I gotta kind of reconstruct what happened. So yeah, it's
Well, he's tampering with evidence.
yeah, exactly.
Colorado Revised Statute 18-8-610 states that a person commits tampering with physical evidence if, believing that an official proceeding is pending or about to be instituted, and acting without legal right or authority, destroys, mutilates, conceals, removes, or alters physical evidence with intent to impair its verity or availability in the pending or prospective official proceeding, or knowingly makes, presents, or offers any false or altered physical evidence with intent that it be introduced in the pending or prospective official proceeding. An individual must intend to alter or destroy evidence that they are aware will be used in a court proceeding in order to commit the violation of tampering with evidence. Even if Mr. Sal did move the motorcycle off of the crash victim, he did so in good faith that his actions were aiding the victim. At no point did Mr. Sal display the nefarious intention to alter the scene of the accident or destroy evidence pertaining to the accident.
The bike's gonna be towed. Preston's gonna go to the hospital and get checked because he got a couple injuries during the scuffle, and then he'll be transported to Limerick County Jail. I appreciate you not trying to jump in there.
He's
Well, I mean, if he would have just talked to me for 2 seconds, it would have been over, and you guys probably would have been gone by now.
Officer Ash speaks with Mr. Sal's girlfriend, and approximately 20 minutes after Mr. Sal was placed into the patrol car, Officer Ash transported him to the hospital. Mr. Sal dislocated his shoulder during the scuffle and tore his rotator cuff, which had recently been surgically repaired. The medical staff at the hospital informed Officer Ash that Mr. Sal could not be booked into jail in his condition, so Officer Ash issued Mr. Sal citations for obstruction of a peace officer and resisting arrest. In the following months, Mr. Sal had to undergo a complete shoulder replacement surgery, and the 8th Judicial District Attorney's Office dismissed all charges against him. On June 22, 2020, Mr. Sal filed a lawsuit against Officers Ash, DeLima, Schnorr, and Bartnez, alleging that the officers violated his First and Fourth Amendment rights, and that the City of Loveland violated his 14th Amendment right to due process by failing to appropriately train its police officers. The complaint requests financial compensation for Mr. Sal's injuries, as well as apologies from each officer involved in the incident. None of the officers involved in this encounter were disciplined for their actions, and the Loveland Police Department has refused to comment, citing the ongoing lawsuit. Overall, Officer Ash and the other responding officers get an F for displaying a complete misunderstanding of multiple Colorado statutes, escalating a non-criminal traffic accident into a criminal encounter, and illegally arresting Mr. Sal for refusing to answer their questions. At no point in this interaction was Mr. Sal legally obligated to interact with the Loveland officers in any way, especially not to answer their questions about anything. Officer Ash's conduct is contrary to the fundamental tenets of the Fifth Amendment, and his willingness to escalate this encounter into a physical altercation is a testament to his emotional instability and unprofessionalism. The fact that the Loveland Police Department neglected to discipline any of these officers is also extremely concerning, and highlights the department's inability to govern itself or hold its officers accountable for their actions. Mr. Sal gets an A-, because while he was well within his rights to refuse Officer Ash's questioning, he did resist arrest and ultimately ended up getting seriously injured. While there is merit to the notion that citizens should be able to resist an unlawful arrest, it simply does not translate to a practical solution on the street and never bodes well in the courtroom. The American justice system is far from perfect, but until radical change is made, we must all operate within the bounds of that system. Seeking justice on the street instead of within the courtroom can have dire consequences, and it is always better to find justice inside a courtroom than risk your life against an officer who is willing to commit acts of misconduct. Always bear in mind how your actions will reflect in court, and never resist an arrest if at all possible. Mr. Sal was well aware of his rights during this interaction, and it is very likely that he has a major case on his hands. I commend Mr. Sal for having the courage and conviction to stand up to Officer Ash's misconduct, and I wish him the best on his journey for just compensation. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic you would like us to cover in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more police interaction content.